The reason many of you haven't reached the place you want to be in life, the reason you keep getting misled and stuck, isn't that you don't know things. It's that you keep accepting bad advice. Ethiopians are interconnected almost like one big family. We grew up being raised through constant advice and instruction. From childhood, the things our families told us, the things the people around us and our teachers advised and taught us, we carry those things with us for our entire lives. The problem is that most of that advice is wrong. In this video, I want to share what I consider to be the bad, mistaken pieces of advice that are stopping most from changing their lives and living better ones. Unless you can uproot these ideas, real change will be hard to achieve. The first one is, your time will come. Everything has its own time. Everything arrives when it's meant to. When you hear this, it sounds like solid advice, doesn't it? It isn't. It actually tells you nothing. Yes, people have their own timing, their own moment when things click for them. Do we have our own time too? Sure. But the real problem is that we have no idea when that time is. When is your time? When is my time? Nobody knows. We are fragile, weak creatures. Telling yourself, it's not my time yet, my time is still ahead, maybe in 2 or 3 years, when we have no way of knowing what will even happen tomorrow, and consoling yourself with my time will come, that gets you nothing. The better approach is this. Live as though your time has already arrived. Always. Because even as a believer, the day you've been given is today, right? Today is when we actually live. Yes, of course God has a better plan for us, there's no question about that. Maybe for one person, life really comes together at 18. And for another, it might take until 48. There's no question about that either. But in that whole process, what are we actually doing? What are we waiting for? A lot of people say, it's not my time. Your time will come. Your time will arrive. Right after they tried something once or twice and failed. That phrase doesn't actually justify whether your time comes or not. So even as believers, you might say it happens whenever God allows it, in his own timing, fine. But in the meantime, what do I do? Just sit and wait? No, I try. I keep trying, and here's why. It's through the trying that I become ready for that better time when it comes, not by sitting around waiting for it. For example, if your business is destined to succeed 10 years from today, what should you actually be doing during those 10 years? Not just sitting there thinking, I have 10 years left. Because if you do that, the 10 years will pass, and when you finally arrive, even if a business opportunity is handed to you, you won't be able to make it succeed. But if during those 10 years, instead of constantly saying, maybe this year, you actually try 10 different businesses and fail at them because the timing wasn't right yet, then by year 10, when the business whose time has finally come arrives, you'll be ready for it. Why? Because you'll already have built the personality, the character, and the knowledge you need. So, your time is still ahead. Your time will come. Everything arrives in its own time. Music, if you use that as an excuse, you won't get anywhere. We don't have time to waste. The time we've been given is right now. Everything we want to do, everything we're thinking about, we need to act on it now. There shouldn't be anything within our power that we're not attempting. As much as we're able, we should give everything we have toward it. Only once we're truly empty, meaning we've genuinely given everything we possibly could, only then is it acceptable to step back and say that's enough. As for God's timing, yes, that's what I'm ultimately waiting on, but even then I keep working while I wait, rather than stepping off the road entirely, because opportunity and luck only come to us while we're actually walking that road. Second, what I consider society's biggest trap is the age-based deadlines we've all internalized. By this age, you must be like this. By this age, you must have done that. You must marry by 25 or 26. A woman should be married by 22 or 23. By 27, you should have a business of such and such kind. Honestly, these ideas knock a lot of people off course because all of us come from different backgrounds, different kinds of childhoods, different households we were raised in. The way society shaped each of us isn't identical at all. So one person might have their awakening at 35, another at 15. People genuinely have very different lives. You can't call a 35-year-old a failure just because when you find him at 32 or 33, he seems to have accomplished nothing remarkable, and you assume he's wasted his years, that this person will never wake up. At 35, things can completely change. We never really know when someone's life is about to turn around. This connects to something I mentioned earlier. One of the mindsets that keeps me from judging people is this. God might lift me up out of where I've fallen in my 20s while someone else, he might lift up in their 40s. It's purely a matter of timing. And there's no such thing as too late, I promise you. I'm 18. How do I even start a business? Isn't that too early? That's what society tells you. But who says so? There are people who've achieved remarkable things in business in their 70s. There's no such thing as too late. I'm already married. I already have kids. I already have a family. I've missed my window for this. That's not true either. Plenty of people built families, had 2 or 3 kids. 3 kids, and still went on to start massive businesses in their late 40s or 50s. By the way, social media is misleading us here. What do you think the average age of a millionaire is, or music? The average company owner? Right now, most of you probably assume it's someone in their 20s, right? Maybe their 30s? No, go look it up. It's around 50. The average millionaire is around 50 years old, folks. On average, a person needs to be around that age before they're in a position to become a millionaire. For someone in Ethiopia to be able to buy a house and a car, they typically need to reach around that age too. But that's not what social media shows us. It shows everyone succeeding at 20. That creates a lot of unnecessary pressure. And as a society, the idea that there's still time or time has already run out has hurt us deeply. Unless you let go of this, you won't clearly see when you actually need to act. Third, thinking it's not that easy. When you think about doing something ambitious, what's the very first thought that pops into your head? That isn't as easy as people say, man. Clears throat. There's a lot to it. I remember this too. At home, whenever the idea of starting some kind of work or business came up, this was the response. Needs to be around that age before they're in a position to become a millionaire. For someone in Ethiopia to be able to buy a house and a car, they typically need to reach around that age too. But that's not what social media shows us. It shows everyone succeeding at 20. That creates a lot of unnecessary pressure. And as a society, the idea that there's still time or time has already run out has hurt us deeply. Unless you let go of this, you won't clearly see when you actually need to act. Third, thinking it's not that easy. When you think about doing something ambitious, what's the very first thought that pops into your head? That isn't as easy as people say, man. Clears throat. There's a lot to it. I remember this too. At home, whenever the idea of starting some kind of work or business came up, this was the response that came up again and again. No, I said it's not easy. Look at the economy now. Look at the state the country is in. It's not easy. 2 things on this. First, honestly, nothing is easy. Saying something is easy would be a lie. No question about it. But what counts as easy really depends on how you define it. What I've come to understand in life is that simple and easy are 2 different things. In Amharic, both translate to the same word, but they mean different things. Easy means doing it requires little effort. Simple means it's not complicated. Genuinely, I tell you, starting a business, making money is simple. Very simple. There's nothing complicated about it. It's just, buy something for 10 bear, sell it for 20, you've made 10 bear profit. Nothing complicated there. What's making it so complicated, music, is what I've already told you. Learn video editing, learn social media marketing for 3 months. Take that knowledge and work for free first. And once you've proven yourself working for free, start working for pay. It's simple, but doing it isn't easy. Doing it might force you to change your current lifestyle and mindset in some way. That's okay. Anything in life capable of giving us something better is going to be hard. We were never promised an easy life. As long as we're on this earth, music, the life we live is going to be hard, not easy. If a hard life is our default, why do we treat this as hard as a reason to stop? Oh, this is hard. Of course it's hard. If something is genuinely worth having, remember everything worthwhile is hard. So really, it comes down to choosing which kind of hard you want. By the way, living a deeply depressing life is hard too. Being broke is hard, isn't it? Imagine a broke life, not being able to afford things, wanting something and not having the money for it. not having food to eat. That's very hard. On the other hand, building a business, running 2 businesses, managing 20-some employees is also hard. The burden of music, 20-some people's pay, the responsibility toward clients, paying tens of thousands of bear in rent every month, also hard. So which hard would you choose? If you ask me, 1,000 times out of 1,000, I'd choose the second kind of hard. The idea that something being hard is automatically a deal breaker needs to leave our minds. Everything is hard. The real question is which hard you'll choose. In fact, there's a framework I really like for this. When you're stuck deciding between, say, 2 businesses you're thinking of starting, choose the one that's hard in the short term, but becomes easy in the long term. Whichever one feels harder to start that one. Because if you start with the one that feels easy, maybe it began as passion, but once it turns into an actual business, that passion fades. So you might end up with several side passions that you don't try to monetize, that you occasionally return to just to refresh yourself. But your primary source of income shouldn't be something you expect to constantly feel excited about, that I can't wait to do this kind of rush. If you expect that from it, it'll eventually become boring. Making money is very often extremely boring and tedious. Doing the same thing every single day, the same routine, month after month without a break, the same meetings over and over. Honestly, if you can't push through that process, you'll quit. Long hours of work will start to feel unbearable. 5th, be born rich or attach yourself to someone rich. That's basically what we're told growing up, isn't it? Being born rich isn't something we choose at all. Music. We don't get to pick whether we're born rich or poor. So bringing that up is irrelevant, obviously. What people commonly assume is that someone who comes from a wealthy family will simply end up wealthy themselves. That's false. Coming from money doesn't automatically mean you'll carry that wealth forward. We all know plenty of people who came from rich families and are now living trashy lives. Many people can't even keep their family's business running. In fact, I personally believe kids from wealthy families actually have a higher chance of failing. Why, you ask? A wealthy family gives their child a soft life. Within that softness, the child never learns to handle hardship. So once that soft treatment stops and real hardship arrives, they can't cope, and they turn to escape mechanisms, addiction, or whatever else money grants them access to, music, to numb themselves. On the surface, it looks like a great life, nice house, nice car, nice social circle, but after a certain point, looking back, there's no real foundation they've actually built. The person is still them an opportunity, rather than thinking, what can I learn from him, and how do I take what I've learned and apply it myself? To build something of my own. This is a very common and deeply mistaken Ethiopian mindset, especially toward relatives. If there's a successful person in your family, don't just go to them saying, do this for me, do that for me. No, go build your own resources. That person clawed their way to where they are through their own struggle. You can learn from how they worked, not go expecting handouts. No one inherits anything just by showing up and asking. This is a mindset you really need to drop. 6th, be yourself. We hear this advice constantly. Be authentic. Be yourself in every situation. Let me start by saying I have no objection to the phrase be yourself itself, but have we actually defined what yourself even means? What does be yourself actually mean? It means you should know yourself. Have I genuinely defined myself? Who am I? What do I love? What do I hate? What's my stance on things? Where am I headed? What are my non-negotiables? Anyone who hasn't worked that out can't meaningfully say, I am myself. My friend, 2 years from now, you'll be a different person. You'll find yourself changed. You have no idea. Music, how differently you'll turn out within 10 years. Completely, totally. 4 or 5 different versions of yourself might emerge along the way. Why? Because we haven't actually defined ourselves, so by the sheer force of life's process, we keep reshaping. If you met the version of yourself from 4 years ago today, you wouldn't recognize them. You wouldn't even know them. They'd feel like a complete stranger, totally different person. And maybe 5 years from now, the same thing happens again. What I'm trying to say is, through the processes of life we pass through, As we keep changing, shedding shells, shedding skin, what we currently believe about ourselves isn't really us, unless we're absolutely certain of it. Especially for someone in their late teens or 20s, claiming this is just who I am as some kind of final, defining statement doesn't really hold up. We're still becoming who we are. So in some situations, if you insist, no, this is just me, this is who I am, well, if that you has a lot of flaws or weaknesses baked into it, it's actually fine to cover that up and present a better version of yourself instead. That's the wiser move. For example, walking into a meeting with a client and saying, I'm just being authentic while be. The way you talk with your friends into that meeting, that's personality. The word personality comes from the Greek word persona, meaning mask. There's a mask you wear at home, a mask among friends, a mask at work. These are different masks, and it's up to you to consciously put on the right one for the situation. With your friends, you can be playful and fun, as loose as you like. In situations that require responsibility, you should be someone capable of carrying that responsibility, capable of working hard. When you're with family, you might want to show them respect, an entirely different version of yourself again. Depending on where you're headed, your personality should be able to adapt because it's about persona, not identity. I'm not talking about identity. Treating personality as a single fixed thing, this is me, this is just how I am, causes real damage because it stops you from being able to change. Some people have genuinely bad habits. Why do you eat like that? Why do you talk like that? And the response is, I'm just like this, I've gotten used to it. Even though you could change without losing anything, why turn it into your identity, your personality? Because the version of you 5 years from now, you want them to be far better than you are right now, wouldn't you? To get there, you need to be able to shed certain shells. But if you've turned it into your identity, you won't be able to. I've personally been skinny Jonas for a long time. Why don't you put on weight? No, being lean suits me. When people hear Jonas, they picture a thin guy. I genuinely never want to gain weight. I made it part of my identity. Until that mental block broke, no matter how much I ate, I wouldn't gain weight. Why? Because it was the personality itself that needed adjusting. Once you say, fine, this is just something about my body I can change. 6 months later, sure enough, you've gained 10 kilos and become a different person entirely. So, in order to push yourselves to a better place and to show up strong in the various commitments you want to fulfill in life, you need to be as flexible as possible about changing your personality. 7th, believing I'm unconditionally loved. They love me just because I'm their child. No, they don't love you for free with zero expectations. So thinking I won't change a single thing about myself, that just doesn't hold up, and it connects to the point I made earlier. This, by the way, is a deeply mistaken view. No human being loves us purely for who we are, with our personality exactly as is, expecting nothing in return. Maybe God alone loves like that, with no expectations. Every other human being who loves us has some expectation of us. Family wants us to be better children. Friends want us to be better friends. Whoever you're in a relationship with wants you to be a better partner to be with Clear's throat. They might accept you as you are right now, but that doesn't mean they don't want something better from you. What does this actually lead to, though? In dating, for example, this happens a lot. At first, someone really tries to impress the other person in every way, succeeds, and they end up in a relationship. After that, everything stops. Once they've gotten the person settled, locked in, fully invested, they stop trying and start thinking, well, now she just has to love me as I am. With that same mindset, he takes her to his messy, unkempt house and says, well, this is just how my place is. He expects to be loved unconditionally, just because, but no, that's not how it works. By the way, maybe in the early stages, people genuinely can show the kind of love, but after some time, every little thing starts to matter. When you're out drinking with your friends and you say, actually, I'm going to cut back on this, that itself adds to your value. Maybe it earns you money, maybe it earns you good judgment, but even without monetary value, there are many other ways your value goes up. A funny person is always loved because they can lighten the mood, make people laugh. A grounded person who can give good advice, who you can call anytime and they'll show up for you, who can carry real responsibility. There are so many qualities people look for in another person. It's not just about money. What makes someone genuinely likable? The kind of people I sincerely want around in my life, the kind I want to hold on to, are the ones who, the moment I call them, show up. If I say, I'm in this kind of trouble, they'll come running from wherever they are. These are people I could never stop loving in my life, even if they had no money at all. This doesn't mean every relationship has to be transactional. I give this, I get that. That's not what I mean. Sometimes there isn't even a need for things to balance out. But when you walk into a room, into a social circle, if you don't know what you actually bring to the table, what people get out of seeing you, encountering you, at some point you'll become someone with no real value to others. And then you'll be the one expecting people to love you, call you, invite you everywhere. But the people who would invite you, call you, include you, will start disappearing. Why? Because you don't know your own value, and that mindset of I'm unconditionally loved stops you from earning a better standing, better respect, better love from the people around you. Eighth, believing we can change other people. This is a deeply mistaken idea. There's a saying, a lot of people think they can change others but can't change themselves. Sometimes the people around you, you try to get them to do something, you give a lot, you try to help them get started, but they still won't follow through, right? Some people, why does this? Clears throat, lead to frustration? Bro, you can't force it. Everyone has their own way of waking up, their own timing for things to click. There's a parable from the Bible, Christ taught it, about a sower scattering seed. The seed is the same in every case, but it lands on different ground. Some falls on rocky soil, some among thorns, and some on fertile, lush ground. It's the ground it fell on that determined the seed's fate, not the seed itself, which was identical. The same applies to us. There are countless books, teachings, and resources out there. Some people use them and transform their lives. Others don't use them at all. It comes down to whether they're receptive. We're not the ones sowing the seed into people. The real issue is that we've received so much advice, and to this day, we haven't applied all of it. Why, you ask? For some advice, we simply weren't ready. We weren't fertile ground yet. We're still in the process of becoming. Maybe our minds had hardened from repeated habits, or maybe we accept the advice for a short while, do something small and good with it, and then our motivation fades and we slide right back. Isn't that how it usually goes in life? The difference lies within us. Since we ourselves couldn't change, trying to change others simply doesn't work. Maybe God has a bigger purpose for us, using us to teach certain people to become a reason for someone's growth. Maybe that's the intention. So, in order not to close that door, we try as much as we're able, we walk as far down that road as we can, through God's own will, of course. But beyond that, twisting people's arms, insisting, I'll change this about them, I'll fix that. About them, that mindset will genuinely hurt you. It really will. Many of you go into relation. Use them and transform their lives. Others don't use them at all. It comes down to whether they're receptive. We're not the ones sowing the seed into people. The real issue is that we've received so much advice, and to this day, we haven't applied all of it. Why, you ask? For some advice, we simply weren't ready. We weren't fertile ground yet. We're still in the process of becoming. Maybe our minds had hardened from repeated habits, or maybe we accept the advice for a short while, do something small and good with it, and then our motivation fades and we slide right back. Isn't that how it usually goes in life? The difference lies within us. Since we ourselves couldn't change, trying to change others simply doesn't work. Maybe God has a bigger purpose for us, using us to teach certain people to become a reason for someone's growth. Maybe that's the intention. So, in order not to close that door, we try as much as we're able, we walk as far down that road as we can, through God's own will, of course. But beyond that, twisting people's arms, insisting, I'll change this about them, I'll fix that. About them, that mindset will genuinely hurt you. It really will. Many of you go into relationships thinking, I'll change him, I'll change her. That's not how it works. Ninth, never give up, don't lose hope. We hear this constantly, and it feels good to hear. It offers some hope, the idea that you can still win, and there's nothing wrong with saying it. The real problem lies in how people interpret it. Sometimes there are moments when we genuinely need to stop and knowing exactly when to stop and actually stopping is invaluable. There's a saying, know when to fold. If, purely to avoid the feeling of giving up, we keep pushing ourselves in the wrong direction, we might end up somewhere we can't recover from. Some businesses have genuinely failed. You try, and you get burned. How many more times should you try? Sometimes it's simply. Then his friends come along and say, hey, you've got all these clients. People want you. Why are you letting someone else take the profit instead of going out on your own? He takes that advice and starts working independently. Once he's out on his own, he starts seeing sides of his clients he never knew existed. Turns out his previous employer had been shielding him from all of that, and all he himself had ever been responsible for was the actual work. Now, though, with that employer out of the picture, he's left facing those clients directly. Their bad behavior, delayed payments, attempts to scam him. After that, he starts wondering, should I be doing electrical work or arguing with these people on the phone? Constantly chasing payments. How long is he supposed to keep nagging people? Lawsuits might come up, and during rough stretches, money flow can dry up entirely. Now, he also has to go find new clients on top of everything. But how? Before, he never had to chase clients. They just came to him directly. You see, the people you tell to go start your own thing might be extremely skilled at doing the actual work, but that doesn't mean they're skilled at running a business. The skill set needed to build a business and the skill set needed to do the work are completely different things. I, personally, with zero electrical background but with business knowledge, could open an electrical installation company or any company doing that kind of work, and I could go find and hire the very person I just described as an example. I'd know how to bring in clients, how to manage them, how to deliver for them. If you can put people who handle those things in place, that's a business. But the point is, the skill needed to start a business and the skill needed to actually perform the work are very, very different. This is exactly why a lot of businesses started by skilled professionals fail. They're capable of doing the work itself, but they're not capable. Needed to do the work are completely different things. I, personally, with zero electrical background but with business knowledge, could open an electrical installation company or any company doing that kind of work, and I could go find and hire the very person I just described as an example. Either know how to bring in clients, how to manage them, how to deliver for them. If you can put people who handle those things in place, that's a business. But the point is, the skill needed to start a business and the skill needed to actually perform the work are very, very different. This is exactly why a lot of businesses started by skilled professionals fail. They're capable of doing the work itself, but they're not capable of turning it into an actual business. So if there's a talented person around you, and without understanding this, you keep pushing them, saying, let's start this, you're putting unnecessary stress and pressure on them. The better advice might instead be, think about how to eventually turn this into a business. Directly look into, alongside your regular daily work, how clients actually come in, how payments are processed, what the rest of that process looks like. Study it, learn it, and only then go out and run it yourself. That's the better advice. In our country, if there's one area where the most damaging advice exists, it's around money. The way we've been advised about it has trained us to fear it and shy away from it. So no matter your background, even if you currently have absolutely nothing, starting completely from zero, there's a video I made breaking down, step by step, exactly how you can earn your first 100,000 bear. I'll link it here. Go check it out. I promise you, even with zero understanding of money right now, that video lays out very clearly the principles for making your first 100,000 bear. See you over there. Go ahead and check it out now. Don't forget to subscribe.